Hello, everyone, and welcome on this webinar. You're welcome, Dilius. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to have you online, and I hope more of you will join in a few minutes. I'm very happy to introduce you with Lionel Sitz, who is Professor Associate in Consumer Marketing and who will hold this masterclass tonight about creating value with marketing. I am Elora Beaulieu. I'm Head of Development for the Master of Science in Management, and I'm very pleased to have you here.
It's my turn now, right? That's wonderful. So as Elora was saying, I'm a marketing professor. I've been teaching marketing for quite a while now. And I'm very pleased to be talking to you today about how to create value in marketing. I have a quite broad presentation tonight. It's a masterclass, so I will not give too much detail, but please feel free in the discussion to ask questions, remark. Elora will help me with reading through them because I'm old now, so it's difficult to do two things at once. Just a few words about me. So I'm very interested in the sociological perspective on marketing and consumption. I did my PhD on, of course, an interesting topic. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done my PhD on it. 3 years on one topic. It needs to be very interesting. And I did my PhD on brand communities. So consumers that are so fan of a brand, they spend their time, their money on that particular brand. So I studied Harley Davidson, Canon, Nikon, and my former employer, Apple, to be clear. And then I joined EMLYON a few years ago. And that's it about me. Now, when Elora asked me to talk about a masterclass, she said, and I quote, "I need something to talk about marketing." So I tried my best to bring some elements on marketing. And what I will try to do today is try to explain to you market plus ing, and I will explain in a few seconds what I mean by this. So what we call marketing, and I will present to you in a few seconds what is at stake here. When we talk about marketing, we are talking about a very large corpus of concepts. And what is specific at EMLYON, and it has been specific for over 20 years now, we have a very unique way of at least teaching, maybe not thinking about, but at least teaching marketing. And this specificity relies on mainly two things. One is we try to get hands-on classes, which means that we work a lot on cases and real-life cases, and it's not a bad thing in my mouth, but not Harvard-like cases, but real-life cases. And the second element that is quite unique at EMLYON is that we have a bunch of marketing professors that share a common understanding of what marketing is about. And this common understanding, we call it market plus ing. Now, having said this, most of you might think that the plus is an add-on, right? Normally speaking, it's one word in my weird mind is actually putting a plus in this title with the barcodes. And it's not just a plus. This plus is actually here to signify and to carry on the idea of a process. Now, this is what I will try to talk you through today, walking you through one sign, which is this plus. Weird stuff, right? One plus. And this plus is here to signify two things. One is the process of marketing, and the second is how you can create value with this discipline that is called marketing. Now, most of you know marketing for sure. We all know marketing. Even my grandmother knew marketing. So everyone on the planet knows about what marketing stands for. And when you dig into what marketing stands for, usually you get 4 main answers. Well, at least 3 main answers, and one is the one I will try to dig deeper on. So when you were younger, or just younger than you are today, you shared this general idea, and usually you didn't talk about marketing in a broad general sense. Your parents and you were talking about one element, and it's summarized in one sentence. It's just marketing. So you were asking for this very nice Ninjago stuff or this amazing pair of sneakers, and your parents answered, it's just marketing. First, as a child, when you get this answer, it's generally a bad sign. It means your parents are not willing to buy you the stuff you want. The second element, and this is the reason why I'm actually talking about this, the other reality is that what it means is that the general understanding of marketing is a bad understanding. It's something that is rubbish, but sold with, a nice packaging and an advertising that leads you to desire the stuff that is useless. So basically, you sell a crappy Lego, you call it Ninjago, and people want to buy it. It's just Lego, but packaging is different. So the general idea of marketing is a negative one. And there is first a confusion between communication and marketing. So I illustrate this with the bold guy, because what you have here is a sort of degrading vision of marketing. Marketing is here as a negative stuff that companies are trying to do to trick us into consuming these useless products. So 2 elements here. One is that the general understanding of marketing is a negative one. The second is that not only is marketing negative, marketing, when seen, is actually a repulsive element. So to put it differently, when people see marketing, when they believe they see marketing, they reject what they see. So in other words, when people talk in a normal conversation, when people talk about marketing, not in a business school, not in a marketing meeting in a company, but when normal people like you and me, your parents, talk about marketing, what they talk about is this negative intent to manipulate them, to try to trick them into buying something that is useless. So that's one definition. It's the general consensus about marketing, negative, manipulative intent. Plus, it gives a negative image of marketing and marketing intent. So every time people see marketing, they actually don't see through marketing. What they see is a manipulative intent. Now, having said this, it's what your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, uncles, cousins are thinking about when they talk about marketing. Now, the second definition of marketing is what I summarize as the marketing team. So, a bunch of professionals of the profession. So they know their stuff. They know their PowerPoint. They make amazing PowerPoints with the right typography. Those of you who have done internship, marketing people are the guys who, once you have written them an email, are answering by saying, you have not your signature at the graphic chart. or you are not using the proper typography. You spend hours in this bloody PowerPoint presentation, and what they actually point at is the typography. You pull your liver out to try to explain the good ideas you had in your mind, and what they come up with is this tiny dimension of color codes, typography, graphic charts, and so on and so forth. So this creates tensions within companies, because you have and I emphasize or overemphasize this tension, but you have on one hand the people that are getting their hands dirty, engineers, sales teams that are actually putting their efforts on trying to come up with good ideas, and you have the marketing people, supposedly the most creative ones, criticizing on the basis of existing stuff like typography, color code, the logo. You know, a company changes logo it depends what company, but some companies change logo minorly, but change logo literally every year. And these people, they spot on right away the fact that you used the logo from last year. So in other words, the second definition, or the second view on marketing, is also a negative view. It's the view of companies that have the feeling that marketing people are just specialized in making their lives harder by paying attention on tiny dimensions that actually no one will ever notice. And of course, typographies are important. Of course, colors are important. But at the end, my product is a great one. I invented a new product, and the marketing people are talking about the fact that it is not packageable. I cannot use the proper logo or the proper image to sell this particular product. Now, this really creates tension, and every one of you who have done internship and worked with or within a marketing team has experienced this at first hand, because it's a general reality. Marketing teams are people that are so focused on, how can I call it, tiny marketing, that they forget the big picture. And the big picture is you need to be creative, not just, respect the color code and the typography. You need to come up with innovative new offers to distinguish yourself from the competitors. Now, fortunately, in most universities or business schools, we marketing professors came up with a third road, or a third way. And this third way is the marketing discipline. The marketing discipline is this amazing discipline from which I got a PhD, full of concepts, full of great people like Philip Kotler. You have his picture here. He's the father of modern marketing. He's amazingly charismatic, intelligent, prolific in terms of writing. And he, along others, have invented a huge corpus of concepts. So they came up with a lot of concepts explaining marketing. The problem is that most of their concepts, most of their approaches of marketing is what I call a monolithic and I would say economic view of marketing. And this view I call, and at EMLYON we call it the Proctero-Kotlerian marketing. So just an element of explanation here. Proctero comes from Procter and Gamble, this huge company from Netherlands and Britain. And Kotlerian, of course, leads you to Philip Kotler, the father of marketing. I think we are at the 18th edition of marketing management from Kotler. It's an amazing book. A very efficient drug. If you have difficulty to sleep at night, start to read it and you will fall asleep for sure. It's amazingly great. I mean, it's amazingly great, but it's really, really boring.
Unfortunately, they'll have to read it if they study at EMLYON.
Yes, they will have to read it. But you know, it's like hiking or climbing. You need to learn the ropes of the trade to get to the top of the hills or the mountains. Now, why am I criticizing Philip Kotler when obviously he's a great person? Now, let me try to explain the reason why. And this reason is coming from his background. Philip Kotler and most of the marketers come from an economical background. And economics is an amazing discipline. I've been taught economics as a student, and it actually is a very interesting and open-minding discipline, because it explains a lot of your daily world. So when you have an econ class, after the class, you discover a lot of new things. Prices, they are amazingly informative, and oh, I understand what the growth is, or what interest rates are. So you understand a lot of really important stuff in econ classes. However, the problem with econ classes is that economics has a very static approach of markets. Now, every one of you who have done econ class, and I'm hopeful many of you have done, because it's, again, an amazing discipline. You remember that in most cases, the basic hypothesis or assumption of economics is that markets are efficient and transparent. This is among the 5 hypotheses of basic economics. For them, for econ professors, markets are transparent, meaning that they give all the information they have. And second, markets are actually efficient. And with these assumptions and some others, what marketers and economic professors come up with is this idea that the value is summarized by the economic part of a product or a service. So to put it differently, the price summarizes all the information you need to know about something. So as long as something is exchanged, get priced, this price gives you all the information you need to know about that product or service. So say a restaurant bills, I don't know, 100 euros for a sushi, then it means that the sushi is worth 100 euro. So it means that in this particular framework, the price is a proper, transparent, and absolute summary of all the information about the product or service. While that might actually be interesting, it actually is. While that might be or might appear as an interesting theory, you have a few consequences that are problematic. The first one is that actually prices are not just economical constructs. Those of you who have visited a restaurant knows that Yes, a restaurant is billing a certain price, but you are free to accept or not to go to that particular restaurant before eating and having to pay for the meal. So the price is not, you know, a how to put it gently. It's not an absolute tool. It is an approximation of the mechanism of offer and demand. It means that yes, you can refuse, but other people can accept that particular price. So the first problem of this classical prototypical marketing comes from the fact that products and services are not summarized by price. A pen, a pen is not just its price. And I don't buy this pen because of its price. I buy this pen because I write with it. I can actually put my thought on paper, and I love writing with that particular pen. A computer is not summarized by its price. The price is something that I accept to pay in order to get the computer. What creates the value for me as a user is the fact that I can use it. I can actually, you know, edit my films and my pictures. I can use Premiere Pro or Photoshop or InDesign or whatever Adobe product I want to use to enhance my creativity. So again, the price of Adobe plus my computer plus the electricity is not a proper understanding of the value these elements create for me as a user. The second problem that comes with this prototypical marketing approach comes from the fact that economists think that objects are a set of attributes. So I take again this pen. This pen is a set of attributes. It's blue, it's yay high, it writes with a certain, I don't know, a certain feeling, and I can pay this amount of money to get this particular pen. So having said this, I can actually take two pens and compare them. And I can compare them on two levels. One is their features, and the second is their price. Because the overall set of attributes they possess, gives me an idea of their price. So it means that if this pen is worth €1 and this pen is worth €2, this pen is twice the value of this pen. Very basic stuff, but here comes the twist. Being able to compare these two pens, or these two cars, or these two paintings, or these two movies, allow me to have the idea that things are entirely comparable. So this painting is worth €1,000, this one is worth €2,000. It means that the second one is twice as valuable as the first one. Those of you who are interested in art know that there are at least two problems with this. One is that you cannot compare a Rembrandt with a, say, Leonardo da Vinci painting. These are two painters painting at different times with different philosophies, with different views on the world. So just comparing their paintings on the basis of their price is silly at best. The second element, which is really problematic, and especially for marketing, because it's the beginning of all our problems, comes from the fact that if I can compare things through the price and uniquely the price, I get a problem of competition. Now, let me try to explain. If I can produce this pen for, say, 10 cents. And I can sell it for 10 euros. I make a 9.90 cent, €9.90 profit, right? But if you guys are able to produce it for, say, 10 cents, you will be able to sell it for €9, and you will actually make a profit. And if you continue, what you will have is that econ professors are prophesying for years now that logically in the long run, the margin rate should actually tend towards zero. Because I can compare things, and if I can compare things, then things can actually decrease in terms of their prices. And the one that can offer a lower price will actually win the battle of competition. So here is the problem with Procter-Cutler and marketing. Price is a consequence, not a cause. It's the consequence of offering and demand, which in reality is stupid because it actually is the cause. When you have a luxury product and the luxury product is not expensive enough, then you simply don't see the luxury in that product. So the first problem is that the price of a product is not just, a result of offer and demand. It's also something that frames the meeting between demand and offer. The second problem with this is that when you look around you, you don't see profit margins tending towards zero. On average, every year, the different stakeholders, the different shareholders ask for 5, 10, 15% margin. So it means that margin is not tending towards zero. So either our econ professors were wrong, or they were working with not so exact assumption. And these not so exact assumptions are actually what makes marketing. What marketing is here to do is to create value, trying to change the rules of the game, trying to change the, let's say, the terms of the exchange. What marketing is about at the end of the day is trying to change this pen into a desirable object, trying to change a, say, an airplane ticket into a vacation, trying to transform a computer into a desirable object, transform, say, a motorcycle into a way of life. So when you look closely at what makes the essence of marketing, what you get is that marketing is about creating added value, trying to get a grip on this value creation process. You're not selling just a product. You're not selling the features of a product or a service. What you are selling is way bigger. What you're selling, to put it bluntly, is an experience. You are trying to get people to get passed through the price, to get passed through the elements that compose the object and to see beyond it. So what I've tried to bring you here is marketing is about finding a way to get along the economic value and to create what we might call sociological values. See here what I did? Economic value, singular, sociological values, plural. So what marketing tries to do is to enrich, and I will go to this in a few minutes. What marketing tries to do is to enrich the offering. You're not just offering a pen or a computer or a car or a pair of sneakers. What you're trying to sell are ideas. So what marketing tries to do is to distinguish, to differentiate the offer. And to differentiate the offer, what marketing does is trying to add values to the offering. So you get passed through a pair of shoe, and a pair of shoe becomes, say, a Louboutin pair of shoe. You are not selling an electric car, you are selling a Tesla car. So when I say this, what I'm actually getting at is this marketing plus ing. Marketing tries to get a sense of the value creation process in order to modify the terms of the exchange. You are not just selling the stuff, you are trying to sell the ideas around this object. So you're not selling just, say, a vacation destination. You try to sell a way of looking at the planet or looking at fun. So when you do this, what you start to understand is that this plus here, the market plus ing, is here to signify the importance of the added value. What you do is you try to take the normal object and to transform it into something that is enhanced, enriched, differentiated. So the ing here is to emphasize the importance of the process. What you do as a marketing person, what you will learn at EMLYON is that what your daily job looks like is finding ways to enrich constantly the object. When I say object, it might be a product or service. But what you try to do is constantly find ways to make people understand that the object doesn't summarize the values embedded within it. And to do this, what you do is you create brands. What you do is you try to get a, let's say, a semantic motor that actually simplify the work of interpretation. When people see, the swoosh, they don't ask themselves what the swoosh stands for. But what the swoosh means, I mean, it's obvious. It's Nike. When you see the T of Tesla, you don't ask yourself what this T means. It's a Tesla. It's the logo of the value. So in other words, market plus ing is here to signify that what actually matters is a very philosophical question. How can we transform sociological values, beauty, gender, ecology, social causes? How can we transform these sociological values with an economical value? So how can we translate, say, a very a deep bond with nature within something that makes value, economical value? Well, Patagonia or North Face, you're not just, when you buy a Patagonia t-shirt, you're not buying just a t-shirt. And I go back to just marketing. So it's the reverse of just marketing. When you buy a pair of Louboutin shoes, you're not just buying shoes. You're buying a whole universe of meaning. Seduction, friends, many different things. So in other words, when it comes to market plus ing, the important aspect is that what we need to do is trying a way to translate values within economical scale. So to do this, we need to get rid of a set of preconceived ideas that are constantly coming up in the debates and that are actually blurring the boundaries of what market plus ing actually stands for or means. Now, having said this, a few elements on these preconceived ideas to try to pave you through the market plus ing road. First forget the needs. People are not consuming on the basis of their needs. I mean, when you're hungry, which by the way is not really a need, it's actually a feeling, but I will try to not enter into too much detail. But when you're hungry, you have a tension. And what you try to do is relieve this tension. And to relieve this tension, you can either eat an apple, a Mars bar, a steak, or you can chew a chewing gum. So in other words, the behavioral response that consumers do when they feel something is not based on needs. So in other words, if I go back to my friend, Philip Kotler, one of the problem of his approach is that he believes that needs are the causes of behaviors. When you look around you, yes, there are needs. I mean, if I don't drink water enough, my body will simply die. If I do not eat enough calories, then I have a problem of survival. So in other words, yes, I have needs. And yes, I can try to get a hierarchy between these needs to create this very famous, useless Maslow pyramid. Yes, I can try to do this. But the problem is that human behavior is not caused by needs. It's caused by sociological causes. My parents taught me that a proper life is to have 3 meals per day: breakfast, lunch, plus dinner. So when at noon I don't have a proper meal within my body, I feel hunger. Do I really need the calories at noon precisely? Not for a minute. So yes, of course, I have biological needs, but my actual behavior has actually been taught to me by my society. I have learned to eat at certain hours, which means that at these certain hours, I get a feeling of lack when I do not have the proper meal at the proper time. So in other words, we should get rid or to forget the needs, because it's not what makes us act in a certain way. What makes us act in a certain way is that we see something that we like. Or for instance, when I go to a supermarket, I see vegetables, and they are just vegetables, right? So tomatoes, carrots, zucchinis, and other stuffs. But then I have what we call a sociological interpretation that comes into play. Vegetables are desirable if I want to be healthy. They are desirable if the supermarket director has put some certain music or certain soundtracks around the vegetables. So for instance, when the supermarket is diffusing certain nature sounds, the vegetables look way more delicious. Didn't change, right? The vegetables are still vegetables, and zucchinis are still zucchinis. But when I hear, bird twitching, or when I hear the sound of water, like, a river or something like this, what my brain does is to change the interpretation of these vegetables. Suddenly, these vegetables look way fresher than they do when I have, the noise of a city or a crowd around me. So what marketers do is try to understand the interpretation of their consumers. So they are not just offering the product, they are offering an environment to interpret these products and services. So as a marketing person, what I will do is try to see what the lighting does to my consumers. If you enter into an Apple store, for instance, the light is not, just the light. The colors are not just colors, right? The black, the silver, the tables, they're not just here for no reason. They are here to magnify the offer. I mean, if you just see an apple, they are beautiful products, but it is just a product. Now, if I'm able to transmogrify the environment, if I create a good lighting, a good, feeling of the wood that is amazingly soft, if I can actually have proper colors to create contrast, but not too much, then my people, when they enter into my store, they will start to see things differently because they are not about needs. I do not need my smartphone, right? I mean, this object is in my pocket constantly, but I don't need it. I mean, I grew up, I'm that old, I grew up without any mobile phone at all, and I survived quite well, I must say. And what is even better is that my mother couldn't reach me. So when I, skipped school, she just had to wait for my comeback to know where I was. So why do I need this bloody object in my pocket constantly? Not because of a need, but because of habit. So in other words, what I'm trying to say here is that market plus ING, the kind of marketing you will learn at EMLYON Business School, is a marketing in which we'll try to get every time the consumer experience and to understand what this consumer experience is doing to his or her interpretation. In order to understand it, the value creation doesn't start with the product. It starts with the interpretation. A product in itself is completely useless. I mean, if you look correctly, those of you who have had the chance to visit the Louvre Museum, there are a lot of amazing paintings, right? A lot of them. And there's one that we all want to see when we go to the Louvre Museum, which is Mona Lisa. And I'm sure that all of you who have experienced this visit have had the same experience as I did. You are thrilled by the fact you are gonna see Mona Lisa, and you rush into the museum, and then you see a crowd of people that are actually turning their back because they are making selfies, but that's not the point. And when you get to the painting, it's yay small. It's a very, very small painting. And what is even worse is that it looks blackish. I mean, it certainly is amazing, but to be honest, it's the painting. And I've seen others through my march in the museum. They're way, way, way cooler. So how come that Mona Lisa is more valuable than most of the paintings in the Louvre Museum? And that, my friends, doesn't come from the needs. It doesn't come from even the inner qualities of Mona Lisa. It actually comes from its history. Mona Lisa took value, or started to take value when it was stolen. The absence of the painting made it desirable to people. So in other words, what Market plus ING is about is understanding the interpretation of consumers. The value is not in the product. The value is in the eyes of the interpreter. Do Louboutin shoes actually are worth 500 euros? I don't know. Ontologically, I don't know. I don't know if they're that qualitative compared to a 100 euro shoe. I don't know. But what I know is that when I see them, I understand they are Louboutins, and I actually am willing to pay that amount of money. So do I need them? Probably not. What is even worse is that for those who wear high heel shoes, most of the time they are not that comfortable. I should even say they're not comfortable, at least to walk. So I don't need high heel shoes, and I certainly don't need high heel shoes that are actually worth 500 euros. However, I desire them. That makes the difference, because what market plus ing is about is trying to understand the interpretation of consumers. So going from economic maximization to psychological and sociological understanding. We are social beings. We have been taught by the society we grew up in. We have been taught to behave in certain ways, to eat certain things in certain ways. So in other words, consumers are not just economical persons. They are people, and people behave not on the basis of their needs, but on the contrary, on the basis of their interpretation. Some things have been presented as desirable, and others have been presented as undesirable. So for instance, those of you who have visited zoos as children with your parents, you created what all parents experience when they brought their child for the first time to a zoo. You pay attention to everything. So it means that your parents bringing you to the zoo were terrified by the fact that you were looking at the pigeons, not the bloody tiger, not the lion. You were looking at the pigeon, and you were chasing the pigeon. And what they did, consciously or not, they reoriented your attention to what actually mattered in a zoo. And what mattered to a zoo, or in a zoo, is not a pigeon. It's a tiger, the panda, the kangaroo, all the things that have value in a zoo. So in other words, what I'm trying to say here is that creating value through marketing is not just, making things bigger, better, cheaper, or whatever, brighter. It's actually finding a way to make things more desirable for people. It means trying to find a way to translate this element from a normal element within something that actually creates, embodies value for people. Does a tiger have value? Does a tiger possess value? Well, it all depends on the situation. In a zoo, a tiger is worth a lot of euros. For me as a spectator, for the zoo as an institution, and for ecological reason, a tiger is a very precious animal because it's a very rare kind of animal. So a tiger within a ecological situation is worth a lot. Now, if this same tiger is in front of me alone in the woods of India, probably this tiger is way less desirable and valuable in my eyes, right? If I'm chased by this very tiger that I admired in a zoo, suddenly the tiger is really not valuable at all. And suddenly, a gun or a Winchester will be way more valuable than the tiger that I defended as an ecological warrior. So forget needs, because what makes us consume is not based on needs, it's based on our socialization, our interpretation of what actually is valuable. The second element, preconceived idea, that is problematic and that you will try to learn in the school, is that markets are not just meeting sites for demand and offer. I mean, markets are not just these meeting points of two curves, like the economists are trying to make us think. Markets are social places, meaning that they rely on social processes. So it means that when I wear a certain t-shirt or a certain sneaker pairs or whatever element, I'm not just consuming, I'm also signaling. So it means that when I wear a certain clothes, when I drive a certain car, I'm not just driving this car or wearing this clothes. what I'm doing is also identifying myself with others. So it means that the other error of economists is believing that markets are pure economical sites. They are not. They are sociological places, social places in which you have social process. People will desire, will envy their neighbors. They will envy I was talking about Tesla earlier. They will envy the Tesla of their neighbor. Is Tesla way better than say a Ford? I don't know. And frankly, I don't care. What I know is that when my neighbor has a Tesla, I would kill to get a Tesla myself. And between you and me, if the Tesla model could be bigger than the ones of my neighbors, then I would be very happy. So it means that the problem with the classical marketing approaches comes from the fact that they all share the idea or the assumption that markets are purely economical sites. They are not. We are people. We are made of bones and flesh, which means that we consume not for the sake of consumption. We consume for achieving other goals. When you buy an apple to have a healthy life, you don't buy the apple for itself. You buy the apple because, you know, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So it means that the consumption is not a transparent, or consumption is not a transparent process. It's a complex one that mixes things that have nothing in common. My health plus the price plus the desirability of the person buying these products. So in other words, one of the elements that the marketing classes will teach you in the school is to really be aware of the social process behind consumption. So you will have a lot of electives trying to give you insights on the actual causes of consumption. And these causes are not economic, they are social. They are actually made by people that are not just optimizing their buying behaviors. They are done by you and me, and sometimes we make rash decisions, or we know that we don't. And I usually I use this verb on purpose. I don't need this particular camera, but I would love to have it, because having this big camera in my hands, that would be cool. So in other words, the other element, the other idea that is problematic for classical marketing is that markets are actually way more complex than their economical realities. Now, the other, and I will finish on this because I see the time passing very fast. The value is not in the product. So to make just a few seconds of philosophy, I promise it will not hurt at all. You don't have an ontology of value. The value is not, you know, enmeshed within the product or the service. So it means that it's not within the car, or it's not within the object that you get the actual core of value. Value is a relational interpretation. Let me take a very simple idea. There are a lot of paintings out there whose authors are not exactly certain. So, you know, the guy that, I don't remember the title, but the Jesus, the kind of Jesus attributed or not to Da Vinci. So if it's a Da Vinci, it's worth millions of euros, million. If it's not a Da Vinci, then it's worth maybe $100. So which is it? Millions or hundreds? For instance, you might know this street artist called Banksy, and he is well known for, you know, the girl with the flower and other stuff. And a few years ago, he did what we call an artistic performance. So he sold his paintings in Central Park or around Central Park. And each of the piece he was selling was worth 50 euros. So it means he priced his own production at 50 bucks per unit. Quite affordable, right? Logically, a Banksy painting is worth around 100,000 euros or $100,000. So it means that he was really making an offer here. And he was able, within a whole day, he was able to sold only 7 paintings. 2 of them were bought by the same person for $50. And what Banksy did during the night following this, he released a video showing the process, showing a person selling his own paintings for $50. And guess what happened? Within the minute following the release of the video, the paintings that were once worth $50 were presently worth 100,000 euros. And the reason is very simple. Once it's attributed to Banksy, the very same picture changes its value. When I Eloha can vouch for me, I am a terrible drawer. I'm very bad at drawing. So when I draw something, usually it looks like a Picasso painting. Whatever I try to paint, it looks like a Picasso painting. But when I try to sell it, no one wants to buy it, even for $1. And when Picasso does the same, it's worth millions of dollars. So which is it? Of course, I'm a bad drawer, but the product is the same. I've actually drew exactly like Picasso. So why is my painting less valuable? And the reason is that actually the value is not within the intrinsic quality of the painting. It's not within the Harley-Davidson motorcycle that value lies. The value of a Harley-Davidson lies within the eyes of the prospective consumers. We all would like to have this very noisy but amazing motorcycle. It's not the motorcycle itself, it's the meaning it represents. So now, to conclude, I don't want to take too much of your time. Trying to summarize what I said here. At EMLYON, we have a different ways of looking at marketing, and what we look at is market plus ING, and we insist on value creation with a very, very important focus on what creates this value. And what creates this value is not just an economical process, it's actually a consumer's interpretation process through which consumers are actually trying to see, to interpret, to decipher how much this thing is valuable. So in other words, what we will try to teach you if you join the school is trying to understand that this value creation is actually a translation. You take a beauty product, you shake it with L'Oreal, and what you try to do is making this beauty product actually worth way more than just a beauty product. It will be a symbol of your beauty. It will, a Harley-Davidson motorcycle is not just a motorcycle. It actually is a symbol of freedom. It's also a symbol of manhood. So when you buy a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, you're not just buying the motorcycle, you're buying a symbol. So you are buying sociological values. And the interesting part here for Harley-Davidson is that what they did is translate, I'd say, sociological values into economic ones. I accept to pay a higher price for a Harley Davidson because I am not buying a motorcycle, you know, one wheel plus two tires. I'm buying a symbol, something that I actually desire to have. And that is worth a lot more than just a motorcycle. And you can look around you, all the things that you treasure, all the things that actually are valuable for you are not intrinsically valuable. You know, the memorabilia of your grandmother, or the teddy bear that you were carrying around as a kid, who's now destroyed for most cases. They are not valuable in themselves. I mean, the teddy bear I had as a child is now almost dead, but it's still precious in my eyes. So this is exactly the kind of element that we will try to look together if you join the school. Thank you for your attention. Elora, if there are questions or remark, or I don't know.
Thank you so much, Lionel. It was really interesting, and I really loved your enthusiasm. That's very nice. I'm pretty sure now everyone is going to want to follow your courses at EMLYON. There are no questions, but feel free. You can raise your hand. You can ask them out loud, or just type them in the questions and answer tab. So really feel free to ask anything. Lionel also has a very, very deep knowledge of the Master of Science in Management and European triple degree. So it can also, if you have also questions regarding the studies at EMLYON, feel free to ask them. How can we maintain the value we created? From questions from Adnan.
That's so I hope you have a lot of time, because it's not an easy question. To try to summarize the answer, because really this kind of question opens up a ton of questions. But trying to understand in a nutshell, the way you create, the way you maintain is not maintaining; it's constantly recreate. I cannot. With oral discourse, with orality, I don't have this way of making it, but the way I write it is, you know, putting in squares, recreate. So you constantly recreate the value. So you're not maintaining per se. What you're doing is literally constantly fueling the translation process so that people continue to update their interpretation. So when you look at the understanding of, say, I don't know, Harley Davidson 30 or 40 years ago and today, it's not exactly the same image, because the people there have constantly not maintained but recreate the meaning. So you're not, you know, putting the value within a box, which would actually say that you think that the value is in the product. So you're not, you know, boxing the value. You're trying to constantly recreate the myth you have created. So exactly like Chanel, which has been created by Coco Chanel, who is unfortunately dead quite a long time ago, is constantly recreating a Chanel environment so that we still today continue to desire Chanel products. Did I answer? And then?
We don't know yet. I guess so. Okay. Anyone else?
You can have questions for Edouard on the European triple degree, or me, for that matter.
Okay, well, I think it was very very complete. So thank you very much, Lionel. Thank you everyone for attending. Oh, we have an answer from Adnan. Thank you, but if we say recreation of the value, it reiterates the process, but maintaining is about staying agile.
I agree with the sentence. So yes, maintaining is not just staying agile. It's also, so yes, agile, but I'd say it in a different way. What is important is to stay in touch or in contact with the interpretation process of the consumer. So agile, yes, but also reflexive on what people are experiencing, because the same experience in 20 years period of time is completely different. So yes, agile, but not just agile, also open to sociological changes.
We have another question, which is more personal. As a marketer, would you prefer brand marketing or digital SEO marketing?
I don't make a difference between the two, to be honest, because I think, so to answer more correctly, if I have to pick one, I would definitely pick brand marketing. But for me, the digital is not a branch of marketing, it's everywhere. So today, I mentioned earlier the smartphone. I mean, we all are constantly online. Even if we're not technically online, our devices are constantly online. So for me, digital SEO marketing and all the social media elements, they're not changing the mechanism or the philosophy of marketing. What they are changing is the tools. I mean, 30 years ago, I would have talked about television or radio, and presently when I talk about branding, because I have an elective of branding, I'm not talking of television anymore. I'm talking about social media, social presence, optimization of search engines. So for me, it's not either or, it's and, because brand marketing cannot ignore digitalization of our lifestyle. But if you ask me to pick one under a gun on my head, I'd say brand marketing. But if you allow me to blur the lines, then I would say both, because you cannot separate one from the other. SEO without a clear view of your brand is completely useless. And a brand strategy without some understanding of search engine optimization is clearly misleading today.
Thank you for your answer. And Adnan, also thank you for your clarifications.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I don't know what time it is in your different countries, but for us, it's about 7:11. So I guess we'll call it a night. And thank you so much for your questions and participation. It was a pleasure having you. Okay, we have a last question. If marketing was important, why does not Lamborghini never market? Haha.
Not a question.
Maybe it's more, it's not that much of a question, but okay. You're welcome. It was a pleasure having all of you, and we really hope you enjoy your evening. For us in France, tomorrow is a big event because our restaurants and bars are allowed to open again, but only their outside. Yeah, only the outside tables.
And it's actually planned to rain. So I think many French people will be wet tomorrow, but it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So really, I think the whole France is going outside tomorrow, even if the weather is terrible. So we're very excited, and we deeply hope that in your countries it's going well. I know in India the situation is terrible, and believe me, we all think about you and hope the situation will get better very soon. So we really hope that all of you in your country, you're doing okay, and we're excited that our life is starting a little bit again, but all our thoughts are still with you on the outside with a glass of wine or something else. So thank you again, and
see you soon.
we'll receive the link for tomorrow's meeting. There are no meetings tomorrow. The next event we're planning is the Online Campus Day, where you will also meet Lionel again. It is planned on June 3rd or 4th. I think it's June 3rd. But tomorrow there is no meeting. I mean, I don't believe you do. And if you have any questions regarding the studies or admissions or anything, I will put you the address, admissions. Admissions -asti@emlyon.com. Thank you so much for your attention, and we hope to meet you very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.